long, amen, under our youth director, Sister Rashay Murray. Amen. We thank God for her. Come on, let's celebrate her this morning. Amen. Cheryl, did you not tell you got a baby? No, I'm just messing with you. Amen. Well, she's holding the baby this morning, but we're thankful. Amen. They're going to come, amen, and present, amen, and we are in her hands, amen, for the duration of this, amen. And we want you to receive her at this time, amen, Sister Rashay Murray. Come on, let's give her a hand.
Good morning. How are you doing this morning? So last week, my daughter and I, we presented a little slideshow. But this week, I'm not going to sing with her because she wants to sing by herself. So one of them come on up here.
And I fight with the strength and I got until I die. So I'm gonna stand up, take my people with me. Together we are going to a brand new home. From Tabernacle, you will freedom calling me to answer, gonna keep on keeping on. I feel it in my heart.
Y'all, let's give her another round of applause. That was right on. Keep on. Is this the last day? This the last day? The last Sunday of this month. Okay. Well, this has been a great month thus far, and we're going to continue to have a great year, right? Amen. So now we're going to introduce our panel. Just 1, 2.
Detective Cunningham, married to Amber Cunningham, attended Jess Laner and graduated from Bessemer Academy. Joseph played football, basketball, and ran track throughout high school. His love for sports landed him a scholarship to play for Stillman College as a strong safety. Joseph decided that he wanted to start in the workforce early and began to work at the Nature Escape. Then entered into the Department of Corrections. Where he worked until joining Hueytown Police Department in 2015. After 3 years at Hueytown, Joseph decided then that he wanted to work at the city where he's from and have to work to grow. Joseph joined the Bessemer Police Department in 2018. By his great working ethic and dedication, Joseph became a field training officer and a member of SRT Task Force and currently in the Criminal Investigation Division. Joseph and Amber will soon be expecting their first child in a couple of months. Cara McClure, founder of Faith and Works, an electoral justice league and visionary leader behind Revote Black Church Community Voter Project. Cara is the youngest of 6 and has one son, who is the love of her life. His name is Brandon, from the great community of Collegeville and Powderly. Cara is a political activist, and advocated for marginalized communities. In the span of the last 10 years, she has gone from homeless single mother to business owner to community activist, then state coordinator for Black Voters Matters, to starting her own nonprofit while also serving as regional political director for the Alabama Democratic Party. Cara is now on a mission to build a minimum of 300 social justice and civic engagement ministries in Black churches across the state via Revote Freedom Fellowship. Cara works and founded upon 6 pillars: prayer, people, protest, policy, impulse, and power, politically and personally.
Brother Jason Meadows, right here. From his teenage years as a summer counselor to his current role as a director of community engagement at Woodlawn United and Birmingham Board of Education member, Jason Meadows has served as an advocate for our youth and a catalyst for the community improvement. Specifically, as the director of community engagement, he leads efforts to increase home ownership, economic mobility, and public safety. He formerly served as a manager of community partners and an assistant to the principal at Oliver Elementary School. There he organized partnerships to support the school and provide wraparound services. Jason was the attendance administrator of the Attendance Professional Learning Committee. He also served on the Helping Families Initiative task force to help families address issues that affected their children's ability to learn. Jason is the District 9 Birmingham Board of Education representative and the former president. He has been a mentor to young men with achievers in life and the MAN Project. He has coached AAU basketball and spoken at schools across the state of Alabama. He currently serves as the president of men ministry for the COGIC Alabama Jurisdiction 1. Jason Meadows is a devoted husband, father of 4, graduate of the University of Alabama, and proud son of Birmingham, Alabama. Okay. He has lived in the Smithfield Estates community for over 25 years. His core purposes are youth empowerment, to support community efforts, and to ensure the work is done with not to the people. But he is the son of our Bishop Meadows for the Alabama First Jurisdiction. Okay, I got it. And we have Kendra D. Ward Young. Our last on the panel is Kendra D. Ward Young, Esquire. Married to Derek D. Young and mother of 2, Cameron and Dallas. Kendra graduated from Miles College in 2011 and is also a member of the Miles College Sports Hall of Fame. She continued her education at the Birmingham School of Law, obtaining her law degree in 2017. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She is a police sergeant with the Bessemer Police Department and founder and attorney of Katie Ward Law Firm, LLC. Will you all give these panelists a round of applause? And panelists, would you please take your seats up here on your platform? The Black community continues to face certain issues that are having a profound effect upon communities and families as a whole and has worsened over generations. Some of these issues involve education, health, economic development, race relations, and criminal justice. Every issue that I've just spoke about, stated, is being documented and still, to this day, is being documented through the census, statistical data and report, and also case studies, okay? But guys, you know one thing that hasn't been reported, after everything that's been reported, is a definite solution to eradicate the issues that the African American community just can't seem to come from under. The only thing, okay? But do everyone think education is important? Raise your hand if you think education is important. All right. Education is important. Education is the key to circumstances and situations, but not just your college degree or your high school diploma. I'm talking about education that you receive through life experiences, okay? Your spiritual education. Also, your education that comes from your family. Can everyone agree on that? All right. So, because if we do not know where we come from and what we have endured, we will never know who we are, where we are going, and how far we could actually go. So education is the key. So for this panel, we have some ground rules, guys, and I want y'all to listen up good, okay? It's 10:34. We won't take long. We cannot talk about and discuss this within the time frame that we have, okay? But we're going to try to get as much information from the audience and from you all as possible, all right? So number one, if anyone needs to interject, audience, I'm speaking to you only, audience, okay? If you all need to interject or you have something to say or expound on from what the panelist's response was, stand up for me. I bring the mic to you. State your name one time, okay? One time. That's all you have to do. Because if we go to another question, you don't have to state your name for another question because we already know who you are. Okay? One time. All right. One person speaks at a time, of course. Be additive. If you agree, say so. If you must, and move on to your new point. Okay? Don't linger it on. Okay. Panelists. Not everyone has to respond to a question. Okay? The question may not be pertaining to you, but if you want to add something in, that's fine, all right? Keep it conversational. Jump in if you have something to say. But again, let's do it in decent and in order. Let's stand up. I'll bring the microphone to you, and we'll go from there, okay? Let's generate light and not heat. Let's have a healthy discussion. We're not going to put no one under the bus. We're not going to call anyone out. That is not what we are here for, okay? We are here to educate everyone because I still need some teaching myself. We don't know everything, okay? All right. So my first question, and this is for the panel. This is for everyone. You have a microphone right there in front of you. If you don't speak loud, speak in the microphone. If you do, then it's totally up to you, okay? So first question. What did your teachers or your community do to help encourage you to get to where you are today? Again, what did your teachers do or your community do to help you get to where you are today?
Good morning. It's an honor and pleasure to be here today. Based off Sister Murray's question, I would say it brings to mind my college professor. After I graduated from Miles, he asked the question, what's next? And I was like, what do you mean what's next? He was like, don't stop here. What's next? And I said, well, I really have never thought about it. He said, either you need to go get your master's degree or go to law school. And I happened to be talking to my doctor, and I explained to her I was a single mother, I needed to work, how can I go to school and work and be a mother? And she told me about the Birmingham School of Law, which allows you to go to school during the evening times. And I went, and I'm thankful that I did. So that's why I'm here, where I am. That's why I am where I am today.
Good morning, everybody. How y'all doing? What brought me to go into my career is mostly, I'd probably say, both of my parents in the community that I was raised in. seeing it from going from great to bad to want to do something in the community. I can also say my father pushed me to the point to want to be a better man, to be able to serve and show young people what's right instead of just bashing them about what's wrong. Every kid have their own problems. I'm not gonna say I was the perfect kid growing up. We did have some trying times when I was growing up, but hey, God prevailed. So that's why I'm the man I am today. Thank you.
I would say, my community, two things happened. My 11th grade year, I had my math teacher. I was not the best of students, but I wasn't a bad student. I just was a clown in the classroom, and I was smart enough to coast and still get decent grades, and so I I remember clowning in 11th grade math, and my teacher, Miss Wood, pulled me into the hallway, and I thought, okay, I'm in trouble for something I've said or done. And she said to me, she was like, "You should run for senior class president." And I was looking around like, me, of all people. Now, I attended John Carroll, and it was still is a predominantly white school. And so for me to be a black, child, black student, black male student, our black women were excelling. One of my best friends, she was brilliant then, she was smart. So we were used to seeing the black women in our schools to get good grades. But as far like we were just athletes, or we were, cool. And so Miss Wood told me, she said, "You should consider running for senior class president." She said, "Your peers look up to you." And again, I'm looking like, really? And she was like, "Yes." And so I took her advice. I told my best friend at the time, and I said, "Well, Miss Wood said I should run for senior class president." She said, "I'll be your campaign manager." And, I ended up winning and unseating, a white guy who was the junior class president, who was going to be the senior class president. And so, when you asked about teachers, she saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And, to go on to become the president of the Birmingham School Board, it was foreshadowing for her to see a level of leadership when I was just trying to clown and make people laugh, you know. And I say that for adults, when you're in the presence of children, you can see something in them, and you'll be surprised at that was just one interaction. It wasn't a sermon, it was just one lady seeing something in me, and hearing that from her, I stepped out on faith, and that was the beginning of me being a leader, a formal leader. I guess I was already leading people, and she saw that. And the other thing I would say is from my community, I grew up, born and raised in Birmingham, Smithfield, Pratt City, Smithfield Estates, West End, and East Thomas. Those are the neighborhoods I've grown up in. I've had a lot of friends to get killed. my next door neighbor who was like my big brother, I was at home when the police came home and knocked on the door because his parents were on vacation. And I was the one who had to hear that, my big brother was killed. And so I can name, from, Miss Regina Hunter's son, Jack. Jack, you ever hear Danny Carr talk about his brother? Well, I was friends with his brother, Jack, when Jack got killed. Friends. So I've lost, so the community also seeing that and feeling that as a young person, 16, 15, 18 years old, that loss committed me to being a part of the solution.
Wow. And the community does help. I know back when I was younger. But we'll get back to that. Let's get back to these questions. So, y'all ready for these questions? So how can you change the culture of our youth's perception on education and law enforcement? How can you change the culture of our youth's perception on education and law enforcement? That's a good one now. That is a great one.
I'll start and be quick for them. Before we change the youth's perspective, we have to change the adults. Because every child is a computer. Somebody's programming them. They don't program themselves. Point blank and period. There is no difference in that. There's no arguing that. We are all a product of something that somebody put inside of us. And so if the adults don't, if we don't get a vision of our community of education and law enforcement, if we don't see hope in it, then our children are going to mirror that same level of whatever we have, anger, whatever we have, apathy, disconnection, all of that. They're going to take it and then they're going to magnify it. If you go in your house screaming, your kids will scream louder. If you cut the food, they will cut a bigger food. Point blank and period. So what we see in our children, that is because they can't articulate, they don't have the intellect to articulate their frustrations. It manifests in behavior. It manifests in, outlandish acts. And so the adults, we've got to get a vision of the future of our community that's positive. And, I can go on and on, but yeah, the adults first.
My answer would be part A, he answered part B, but I think we should start with, as far as law enforcement, stop making us seem like the bad guys. When I walk into a room with my uniform on, the mom, parent, or whoever say, she gonna take you to jail, you better stop being bad. She gonna take you to jail, Stop, planting that seed in their head that we're the bad guys. We're actually here to help, It's numerous of examples that I can give when, the parent or whoever is over the child will say, make it just seem like we're the bad guys and say, if you don't stop being bad, she's gonna take you to jail. That's not good.
Well, hold on, Ms. Carroll. Well, going back to what Sergeant Kendra Ward said, when the parents tell me that, I say, no, I'm going to take you to jail. That's exactly what I tell them. Okay, I'm sorry.
Happens to me.
Tiff.
I think in order to change our children's perspective on law enforcement, first, maybe we should have the police to stop killing us. And then when we talk about public safety with our community, if we talk about the root causes of the problem, there's no need for the police to be in that conversation. Because if the police is not working toward ending poverty, if they don't have the solution towards making sure folks are eating. If they don't, th- there's there's a whole conversation about public safety that don't have to include the police. And if we can expand our imagination and imagine a world free of just a safe world, and the police go back to serving and protecting instead of surveilling us and policing black bodies, it'll change our perception. We can also change the perception. A child's walk to school should be a beautiful walk, should be an encouraging walk to school, where they see signs all the way from on the bus or walking that says you can do whatever you put your mind to. You are great. You are just a encouraging walk to school instead of their walk to school or their bus ride to school being dilapidated homes, needles in the yard, drugs, paraphernalia, and things of that nature, and at home, being overly excited about everything that they do positive. Like with my son, when he just cooked his own meal one day, I was like, oh my God, these are the best waffles in the world. If he cleaned his room, I've never seen a room that clean. Reading books like Dream Givers for Children. So many things can change their perception, but I would never say to my son, I'm calling the police, because I'm responsible for my home and I'll take care of it.
Uh, from the youth from the youth, I'm gonna go from the youth first. I think the way to make the youth better, it should be like they said, the parents. Once the parents act like a kid and they're not training their kid the right way, the kid is gonna act exactly like that parent. If a parent lives the lifestyle of a wild lifestyle or go out there and commit things that they know that their children will look up to them for, as right now, the youth are looking into gang banging. Everybody think gangs have went away. We have people that go to court, parents, who say, well, my kid is not in a gang. My kid is in a rap group. But their kid is on social media with drugs and guns, and they just think that, oh, my kid is just being a kid. No, that's not being a kid. When you being a kid, you're enjoying your life as you grow. You're not going out here committing adult crimes. You're not going out here killing. You're not going out here robbing. You're not going out here trying to harm other people. I mean, you have innocent people every day that's getting something done to them by a young person. Look at the 17-year-old kid that beat this teacher for no reason and everybody just saying that he's a special needs kid. I guarantee you that kid knew what he was doing because he did not stop once he hit that person. He hit her, kicked her, and kept beating her until the other teachers came to get that kid off her. But they saying that he's special needs. Don't get me wrong, he could be, but you also got to raise that kid to understand you cannot do that. It's special need kids out here that know that you cannot do that. And going back on law enforcement to get the community to let the kids look up to us, the kids are going to look up to us. And like Murray said, and Ms. Young said, which I called him, so y'all know what I call it. But I feel them on, stop saying that the police are going to take y'all kids to jail. Stop always calling the police on your kid. Every time you call the police on your kid, what do you think or expect for us to do for your kid? We take them to juvenile to put them in a system. The system does not work. The system is a failure to our community. Every juvenile has a record after that. So once we put them in that system, that's all they know. It's just like prison. I mean, I got a brother that's in prison. I got brothers that been in prison. That it's you just in the system. They do not care about you anymore. So we take all that away and like, this is just me. Just stop calling the police for every little nonsense. It got to be something serious that you need us there for. Don't call us there because you got mad because little Jimmy don't want to leave your store, and you been letting little Jimmy been up for the rest of his life, but now he get mad and drunk, you want to call us because he messing with my customers. You caused that problem. Don't start that problem. We won't ever get caught. But everything else, I think that we should. But I think we should be able to just stop calling the police for everything. Call us when you need us. I guarantee you, we will respond to things that we are trained for. We ain't trained to go out there and deal with mental health people. We ain't trained to go out there to deal with y'all silver issues. We're not trained to go out there and deal with something that, my baby mama or my baby daddy. We're not trained for that. We just going off basically our lifestyle of what we've been growing up. Act like an adult. When you turn 18, you are an adult in the United States of America. Act like it. That's all I got to say.
Going back off what Ms. McClure said, you had made a broad statement when you said the police got to stop killing, us. Well, it's so broad. I can go everywhere with it. First, we're killing ourselves. Second, you can't put that negative stigma on every police officer. Yes, I think police officers should be held accountable for what they've done. Everybody should be held accountable for their actions. But, I guess I take it personal when I come on the scene and I see someone involved in a domestic and I'm trying to get information, see what's going on. And, black lady, she's shouting at the white officer, and I said, well, let me help. And she was like, well, you're just the same. You're not black, you're blue. And, that kind of offends me. Of course, I keep it professional, but you can't, just because this officer go and mistreat this person and kill this person, you can't look at me and say that I'm going to do the same. I love my community. I love black people. I don't want to kill nobody.
And I definitely believe you, and I still say stop killing us. I also say that the police killing us is one conversation, and communal crime is a whole different conversation, and both can be had because both need solutions. Both are problematic. Also, if the police is back just serving and protecting, then maybe we could take some of that investment from policing and invest more in our young people. Why? Because our young people are some of the most phenomenal people in the world. They are smart. They are great. And the vast majority of our young people are not out committing crimes. And so if we invest more in the community and provide the support that the police need, like when they go out on calls for folks with mental issues, maybe a social worker go with them. So now we're investing in mental wellness. Now we're investing in our communities where there are more opportunities, and then our communities can flourish, and there won't be a need for so much police.
I want to say this too. You can hear everybody's hearts. We have a systemic issue in this country. Notice the word I said, systemic. The systems don't work, and they have not worked for a long time. The educational system does not work. Our public safety system, and I'm talking about from a national level, the way it's set up. A system produces what it's set up to produce. And if the product that comes out at the end of the assembly line continues to be one thing, that's because the system has been programmed to produce that. So the system isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was set up to do. And I'm going to say this, being in public education, and I've been working in that sphere, probably for about 5 or 6 years as a partner and now on the board, I can just speak about that specifically. And it also applies to government. I'm going to name some businesses. Blockbuster. How many of y'all have been in a Blockbuster video lately? You haven't. Kodak. How many of y'all buying Kodak cameras anymore? They don't buy those anymore. Yeah. You remember them. You still got one? Okay, you still got one. Yeah. Exactly. Kodak failed. Blockbuster failed. Blockbuster was my childhood. I never thought Blockbuster could fail. Never thought Kodak would fail. But you know why they failed? Is because they didn't keep up with the times. My phone now takes better pictures than most cameras do. We have systems that have not adapted. We have systems that Amazon, Google, Apple, you know why they succeed is because they have a standard of excellence. And they adapt with the times. The educational system has not adapted. Public safety has not adapted. We're still using, now there are some, what we have done, there have been sprinkles of innovation. We've tried to put, and the Bible tells us that you can't put new wine in old wineskins. We've tried to sprinkle innovation on a system that, do you know that kids, I rode the bus. You know every bus on the bus route doesn't have seat belts? But your car that you get in right now, you could buy the cheapest, whatever, Hyundai, Kia, Toyota, the cheapest one. They got airbags and everything. That's because you have a system. The school buses are, and that's nationwide. It's not just Birmingham. They don't make them like that. But your car got airbags everywhere because the system has not innovated. And we, as the people, we've been failed by public servants from presidents all the way down for generations because we have not brought innovation to our communities. And now, but if you look up progressive communities across this country, look up progressive education. If you go into these other areas, they have innovation and we just don't have it. And so we got to innovate because these systems will continue to create oppression.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Myers, and I'm one of the evangelists here at Victory Tabernacle Church of God in Christ. Amen. My question is piggybacking off of Detective Joseph Cunningham. He brought up the issue of police officers are not trained to deal with mental health issues, and since mental health is the main focus, look like whenever the police go out to the community or whatever, if somebody is dealing with a mental health issue. And my question is the police department developing a training program or plan to deal with the community mental health issues for their officers when they go out and are faced with this problem? I worked in the Birmingham City School System. I retired not long ago, but I worked for about 39 years in the Birmingham City School System. I have seen teachers that dealing with mental health issues, children and their parents coming in dealing with mental health issues in the community. And don't let nothing happen in the community. Somebody done got shot or killed or whatever. They bring it into the school. And so I'm just wondering, and all the police department where you work, Sergeant Ward, and where you work, Detective, are they dealing with or training or developing a program for the officers to deal with this mental health issue that they're faced with?
That is a good question. No, we really haven't had any training. We had a class, but that's not really like training. We basically just got taught about dementia and stuff like that, about what's going on. Mental health training, we will never be trained good enough to deal with mental health. As I'm not a nurse, I'm not a doctor, I'm not nobody in the medical field. Even somebody in the medical field probably cannot deal with somebody with mental health. And the reason I'm saying that, mental health grows in different aspects. I mean, I have cousins that have mental health. What can you really do to somebody who's strong as a ox and they mind just suddenly snaps? I mean, when I worked in the prison system, I mean, we just had to just deal with it. And just imagine in the prison, when I worked at Donaldson, we didn't have batons. We just had a spray, and you hope that you checked out a spray. So once we deal with a mental person, we had to at least have about 5 or 6 officers just to deal with them. Even on the streets now, I mean, we get called to mental health all the time. But when we arrive there, the fire department arrive, we got to call the doctor, we got to be able to restrain that person. So when people be like, why are the police fighting that person? We're not trying to fight them. We're trying to get them in control. If a mental health person actually fights somebody one-on-one, I guarantee you the person who ain't mental health will win. The mental health person gonna win because they strong. I mean, it's nothing you can really like. It's nothing you can really train on to get ready for that situation. You just got to be prepared. You just got to be able to talk, know how to talk. If you feel like you can basically get an understanding and make a rapport with that person, maybe that person will probably understand and just talk to you and get done what need to be done so the fire department can come in so they can be able to do their job. And after that, they go to the hospital. But after 24 hours, they release right back out once they get their medicine in. But then it all goes back over again. It's a cycle.
To pick back off of Detective Cunningham and Mr. Meadows, it calls for innovation in the police department. We definitely don't need to defund the police. We need more funding. That's the problem. We don't have enough resources to handle that. We need to hire more social workers and nurses to be on staff to be able, when we have these situations, they can respond and call. Detective Cunningham mentioned training. We need training. We need more training, but or at least something to be able to us to handle the situation until we can bring in these social workers once the scene is secure, to bring them in to to assess the situation and to deal with them more properly, because they have more training on them to deal with these people than we do. So we definitely don't need to defund the police. We already hurting right now with resources. We definitely need more funding to be able to handle situations like this, and to more programs to connect to our youth, because our youth is our future.
I was going to say real briefly, too, with the mental health aspect, quick second, is that families got to take care of their own people. Like I encounter in the schools or just in the community where I work, you can't just throw, like we as a community, if we got somebody in our family that has mental health issues, we just leave them, like we give up on them. And we send them out there into the world. We're not making sure they're taking care of their medicine. We have them come to the board of education and we're having meetings, and we got people in there who clearly do not need to be out. They need somebody in their family needs to be making sure. And so, I think again, our families have to heal. The Bible tells us it starts with the family. Before God created the church, before God created the education system, before he created public safety, he created the family. And families, we got to look out for our people, because but yeah, go ahead. I mean, another thing I would say, working in the school, what detective said, I had to come in one time. When I said I was the assistant to the principal, no, I was not an assistant, but I was working for a nonprofit. I was one of the only black male leaders in the school at Oliver. Oliver serves Gate City and High Chaparral, Harris Homes. So you know who lives, and you know the situations there. At one point, Gate City was our poorest housing authority. That's where they sent everybody. Okay. I had to help a teacher restrain a 6-year-old first grader. He was this little boy, mental health issue. What detective said, this 6-year-old boy was whooping this woman for all. I mean, and it took me. I was sweating trying to restrain a 6-year-old boy, because just trying to get him off of her. And so I think a lot of times we can't rush to judgment on these situations, because they're not. This little lady, she was a small white teacher, about 22 years old, fresh out of college. She wasn't equipped to deal with this little boy, and she loved him. She cried because it hurt her to have to fight back against a 6-year-old. But had she not, it wouldn't have been pretty for us. So we've got, as families, again, the family needs to make sure that that child is getting what he needs. And if they don't, then we need to have resources so they can go and get help for their people.
Okay, we're gonna get two more people. We're gonna go to the next question. I know this question is very very lengthy.
Okay, so my name is Preston Stanley. I guess I would still be considered a youth. So I mean, I'm getting up there. So, what I would want to say is when it comes to policing and how a lot of black communities are over policed, I think the main problem that isn't addressed that Miss McClure said is that poverty is like really bad in our communities, which I believe is the byproduct of how capitalism has to work in this community. It's just how it's set up. Somebody has to be at the bottom, somebody has to be poor for the richest people to have the billions of dollars that they do. And for that reason, the police, part of their main job is to protect that capital. They don't really have the legal precedent to like serve and protect the people. So when you say stuff like, you know, yeah, this police might kill people, but I think the main problem with that is a lot of police forces, they don't hold those people accountable when they kill unarmed people. So if you have, let's say, about 100 police killings and about 50 of them were unarmed, there was no reason for them to be killed, and then nothing happens to those police officers, they get paid administrative leave, you know, they might go to court and then they get acquitted, nothing else happens. Why would you expect people to like trust you not to do the same thing to them? So now you have this problem where you have poverty stricken areas and then you have over policing, which is trying to correct these poverty stricken areas, but they're not doing anything to actually, you know, stop the poverty that's going on in the communities. Kids are, you know, they're doing all these things, joining gangs, doing drugs or whatever, because they don't have any third spaces or any social programs to go to. I've been in the Birmingham, you know, city school system pretty much all my life. I'm in college now, but when I was in the Birmingham city, you know, school system, there wasn't a lot of opportunities for black kids to really do anything in school or out of school. So when you don't have, let's say, sports programs, or you don't have the arts, you don't have stuff like construction or different trades, what do you expect kids who already come from poverty and having nothing to do? They see, well, this drug dealer over here, he's making a lot of money doing this, and it seems like he's being able to get out of the community, so hey, I'm gonna join his group of people and maybe I can do the same thing too, and I can help my friends. And obviously that's not the right level of thinking, because, you know, you're doing crime, but they're only doing crime because they're in poverty. And if you do something about the poverty, most of the crime isn't going to be a real issue. Now, I'm not saying that crime won't happen, because there are lunatics that will just do whatever just because. But I'm saying, yeah, it's human nature. People are evil. You know, there's just evil people in the world. But for the most part, most people commit crimes because they don't have the social economic, you know, platforms to do anything. You know, you just, when you have nothing, you go search for something. And if you can't search for that something, you're gonna do, you know, illegal activities that will put you in jail. And now you're in the system, and then that just becomes a, you know, a cycle of, you know, poverty and crime. That's what happens.
To answer that question that you just said, about killing police. I mean, people always say police are killing, okay, and they always say in a like private area. If you look at the stats and stuff, police are actually not killing in private area. They're mostly killing people who's going to like Hoover, Memphis, or Nashville, big time places where big time money getting spent at. Bessemer, I can use Bessemer as an example, and I pray to God this never happened. We never had a shooting yet, and we in a private area. I mean, most of our police officers are black. Birmingham, that's a whole different type of vibe. You know, you got people just wilding out in Birmingham. Y'all see that every day. They don't even have respect for the police. Because, I mean, then y'all say, why the private area won't grow. That has nothing to do with the police. That's not our job, period. We get paid less to work in the private area while the white man get to work in the nice neighborhoods, Mount Brooks, Vestavia, and Hoover. They get paid way more than us and deal with probably two calls a day. Well, we averaging hundreds of calls. Man, we deal with the same stuff almost every day. What about our mindset? What about our mental health? Our mental health is serious. You know, from me changing to what I used to be to dealing with what's now, I guarantee you, man, it's probably gonna be something going wrong with me when I get up in age. I'm gonna have some type of mental problem because I done dealt with this for so long. I done seen people dead on the ground, cut up, something wrong. Poverty has to change by the people that's in it. When you don't want to change, it's not going to change. That is due to your leaderships. That's due to your mayors, your council, your school boards, the people who y'all vote in. That's right. And everybody always say the president do not care about nothing, or I don't care about nobody president. I do not like a president. A president is nothing to me. What do they do in our community? What do they do in the black community? What did they do in anybody's community? When the last time you see Biden come to Belmont, Alabama, or Birmingham, Alabama? Only time he come down here is when he wants y'all vote. The mayor, when do you ever see y'all mayors? On social media. Do they ever come around to y'all bad communities and actually see the roads, the community, the houses? They see them. They just care about the bigger picture. And what's the bigger picture? Everybody know what's the bigger picture. The bigger picture is the money. Let's build up downtown Birmingham. Let's build up the middle of, on the other side of Bessemer or downtown Bessemer. They do not care about our neighborhoods. And I grew up on the south side. I lived in the projects before. I understand where you're coming from that. Why are we policing in poverty? We have to. If we do not have police in that area, you know how bad it would be? Not saying that we trying to just keep hogging on black folks. No. Sometimes we are the problem. Sometimes we our own problem. The white folks just living happy. We trying to get there. We won't get there unless we can fix the situation of the higher people, the mayors, the presidents, the senators. I mean, you can't just put everything on the police. Yeah, I mean, I understand that what you were saying, but to change that situation of poverty, to get trade schools and all that back into high school, you got to talk to the school boards, the mayors, and stuff like that. Vote better. All right?
And to piggyback off of what Mr. Stanley said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, I really believe, I just love you. I love our young people. And also, the answer to most problems can be found closest to those most impacted. You want to know how to fix transportation, busing. Well, normally what your city do is find all of the experts and they start having this high-level conversation about transportation and never talk to the people riding the bus. We talk about, when we're talking about our young people, but they're not in the conversation. I'm a part of lots of coalitions where we're talking about how to get young people to vote. You know, we need to do this and we need to do that, but they're not in the room. They're not a part of the conversation. And if we can get our elected officials to focus on poverty, let's say they just came into office and some real ones, that if we elect some that have a track record of being in the community, not because they look good, not because they my frat brother, not because they just go to my church, but they have a track record of success and fighting for you. Then we can see a difference, and then we organize as a community. And I lose my train of thought easily, y'all, but I be having some good stuff to say. But it's a lot, but we organize in the community. And what if we organized and we just went to city council meeting and said, we want to focus on poverty in the community for 2 years. Let's focus on homelessness. Let's make sure our communities are cleaned up. Let's make sure there's opportunities for our young people during the summer. And we just focus on poverty for 2 years and fix that. Then we don't have to keep investing in policing because it'll start just fixing itself. And we could divest from policing, not defund, like they defunded the libraries, like they defunded education. Like they defunded. We don't like the word. We hate the word defund when it comes to policing. But we won't talk about all of the services that we needed, like all of the social services and nonprofits were defunded last year. But when we talk about, you better not talk about defunding the police. But if policing were just protecting and serving and not answering calls for mental health, and not trying to fix the family, all the things that they don't supposed to do, but they calling for, then we wouldn't have to invest so much in policing because they'll be like the Mountain Brook police, protecting and serving. There's a difference. When I go to Mountain Brook, they protecting and serving. I'm tired of black bodies being surveilled and policed. I don't want to be I don't need that in my life. And so I'm not against, my brother Michael McClure, Pastor Mike McClure, was a police officer. I love my brother. I love people, no matter what their job is. But I do know that we need to educate our communities on alternatives to policing because we can keep us safe, but it's just going to take some work. All of us going to have to work together in coalition, activists, the church, and our elected officials working together.
Okay, my name is Derek. I'm a single father of one, and my question is for Jason Meadows. He said that the educational system did not work, said it was old and outdated. So what's your suggestion for the parents? Should we leave the school system altogether for homeschooling?
Great question, brother. First I would say the solution is getting involved, being president of the PTO. When we talk about systems that work, we just kept referencing Mountain Brook. My wife works at Vestavia school system. You know who runs Vestavia school? Well, you know who runs Vestavia school system? Just guess. That's right, the parents. My wife tells me if the parents, if the principal make a decision, let's say if the principal moves the fun day from the first week of school to the third week of school, those parents will come up like a mob, and they will get that principal fired or that date gonna change. My wife has told me, she was like, literally, they have gotten teachers fired, they have gotten administrators removed, because at the end of the day, everything is a business. Our customers are students. Every student has a dollar attached. Your son, your child, has a dollar amount, and I guarantee you, your superintendent can tell you how much dollar. Your CSFO, your chief school financial officer, can tell you how much dollar your child represents. And so the parents are the consumer. And so because y'all are speaking with your feet, real talk. Parents, and this is everything, even in the church, everywhere we go, every system, people speak with their feet. When they don't believe in your product, they take their business somewhere else, point blank and period. And so we are hemorrhaging. Birmingham City Schools has been hemorrhaging students since the 80s. There's been a decline. And so I don't want you, if your students in Birmingham City Schools, I don't want your student to leave. But at the same time, I want you to, I understand as a parent, you're going to do what's in the best interest of your child because God gave that child to you, and that's your responsibility. But what I would say the solution is, We need parents to show up and hold the principal accountable, hold that teacher accountable, and your voice will be heard. Come to the board meeting. You come to the board meeting. We have something called community voice. There's a space for parents or anybody in the community to come and present to the board. And if you come up there and you say, you know what, at my school, we don't have any programs. We don't have any programs that speak to, vocational training. Like y'all say it's on the board, but nobody offers it. And I go there every day, and my child said that nobody's offering X, Y, and Z. We gonna look at the superintendent and say, hey, this is what, because we're bound by law not to go and get involved in the day-to-day operations. But my job, we can fire the superintendent if that's not happening. But we don't know if the parents don't come up and make their voice heard. And so what I would say is, man, look, this is the church, all right? Give them hell. That's what I would tell you, all right? And get more parents with you. Get a mob, get a gang. Like, that's a good gang. Get a gang of parents. I'm serious, you all. I organize them and come up and make it and turn it upside down. If you all show up at every board meeting and say, you know what, Principal X refuses to do X, Y, and Z. And you show up the next time, Principal X still ain't doing X, Y, and Z. And you show up 4 times, man, that principal, what y'all gonna do? Eventually, we're gonna look at the superintendent and say, what you gonna do about this principal? I can't fire him because the state law won't allow me to fire him. But if the superintendent are gonna do it, we're gonna say, well, it's gonna either be you or him, or you or her. So, like, mobilize and make some noise. Like, that's what Dr. King, that's what that generation did. And we talk about we not our ancestors, but our ancestors was willing to die. Our ancestors was willing to say, I feel enough about this that I'm gonna risk it all. Like, I'm gonna bring 20 people together. We're gonna fix this problem. Every question I've answered, I still point back to us. I said the parents, we program the kids. I say the people we've elected are failing us. That's all on us. I'm not looking for nobody else. God gave me a revelation, my brother. Nobody's coming to save our community. If we don't do it, it won't happen because the system can't fix us. The same system that enslaved us, the same system that oppressed us, the system can't fix it. So we gotta fix it by any means necessary. That's why I ran for office, is to get people involved.
Leave and go. Yeah, go ahead and.
And that's happening.
You could be at home right now. You can imagine, Derek, the school system that you want for your child, right? Just in your head on a sheet, on a big poster. I want a school that has this and has that and does this for my child. So when they leave this, and then you start working backwards. How do we get there? And then you find some more parents that are not happy with the school system. And you say, how do you envision the school system being? And then you find one more. And then you start organizing around that, and it's just y'all in a room. Y'all meet at the local church like they used to do, and just start imagining. Because that's where it starts first. And then you say, you know what, let's start talking about this on social media. Or let's go to the next school board meeting and be a presence. Yeah. That's what activism, but a lot of people don't want to be called activists.
No more. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm about to put a timer on these questions and these answers because we just spent over 30 minutes on this one, and this is just one question. I guarantee that we're going to go back and forth with education and policing within the little time frame we have. Okay, next question, guys. Next question. This is the next question. Why are black workers disproportionately represented in low-wage occupations and underrepresented in higher-wage occupations? Why are black workers, African American, however you want to pronounce it, why are African American workers disproportionately represented in low-wage occupations and underrepresented in higher-wage occupations? That's a good one. Because if y'all think about it, you know, if we are working that I would say like up in the high, I could have all the credentials exactly. I could have all credentials over this white person, and I guarantee this white person is gonna come off on top, and I'm gonna still be down here. But why is it?
In my opinion, I think back to what Mr. Meadows was saying, we don't stick together. One person might stick their neck out and try to speak up, but if we don't have numbers, numbers are power. And some people are afraid because they don't want to lose their job. This is all they got. And like you said, we're already struggling and trying to provide for our families, so why risk it all? I think we just need numbers. We need to stick together and come together as one to speak up, to be a loud voice. That's just my opinion.
I would say to that, each one has to reach one and pull one up. You know, what happens, and I tell people this all the time, you know, I'm a big sports fan. If you follow me on social media, you know that. But the world is not a meritocracy, which means the best person doesn't always get the job. It's the unfortunate truth. You know, these are human issues. And I get in deep arguments with my boys about this. I'm like, if all the leadership in the NFL are white, they're going to hire people who they're comfortable with. It is racism, and we're going to be upset about it. But it's also a byproduct of the fact that they're hiring people just like in our schools or everywhere else, any place that's black folks hiring black folks. You know, if I go to a school where, and I've seen this, you know, we have some employees of the school district here. So I go to a school, there's one in particular, two of them, where the principal was an AKA. You know what was, and I rode through the parking lot, you know what all the tags were in the parking lot? Why do you think that was? Because she's hiring people who she feels comfortable with. I had another school principal was a Delta. Guess what was in the parking lot? A lot of Delta tags. Exactly. So it's a byproduct of the fact that, again, we're trying to get jobs from people who don't look like us, and they're giving the opportunities to people that look like them. And the unfortunate thing is that I've learned when I grew up, I believed in this world, but as I've grown older, you know, I understand why we're pilgrims passing through a foreign land. This world is not right. And if we're looking for correctness in this world, then we will never find it. This world is broken and there are evil people. And so to your point, my brother, we have to build tables. And we have to build tables for other people to eat at them, you know, and we have to pull people up. And we, as us, the last thing I'll say about this, and this is like, if you want to get me fighting mad, I get fighting mad about this. Pull up the right people. We got to stop hiring folks just because that's our brother, that's our cousin. I got cousins who I love with all of my heart, will fight for them, but I still am not going to put them in a position that the position requires them to provide resources to people who need help. But because you my cousin, I've put you in a position where somebody is relying on you to eat. I can't give you that job, cuz. You know what I'm saying? Now, I got to give it to this sister right here. I don't know her, but she has a track record of getting stuff done. So even though she's not my cousin, she's not my frat brother, she's not my any of that, but I have to love my people enough to hire the right people. Because we get in the position, one of my favorite books, Animal Farms, where the pigs took over the farm and they replicated the same issues that the masters had done. And so what we're doing as black people, when we don't hire the right people, we reproduce the same problem. We get in there and we hire folks who are not going to show up. So we can't say, oh, well, we don't get the job, and we get in, then we give it to our homegirl who we went to high school with, and we know good well she ain't right. You know what I'm saying?
Jason?
Let's just be real, you know, and we've hired her, and now we got people whose lives are depending on her to do her job, and she ain't never been right, but we gave her a job because she slapped somebody for us in the 10th grade. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I'm Brother C. How y'all doing?
Hey.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It's not really too much of a question, more like a statement. I'm not too optimistic about it. I don't really think it's gonna change. The reason I say that is because you made one of the best points. You said the question was that why is black people who are deserving of these jobs not being in these places, and the ones that have the credentials not helping them bring it up? Your point exactly. We help to contribute to that. You just mentioned how you only gonna hire whoever it is that you feel comfortable enough to bring up or to be around you. We are already the minority in the states already. They're not comfortable with us around, period. Plus, we contribute because we are already getting clicks for ourselves. So I'm not optimistic about it because, shoot, I was just telling him, this is kind of the same question like before. It contribute. Nobody's being accountable on any end. The law enforcement, the schools, the people themselves, they don't even want to be accountable for what they know they don't do. You feel me? So I'm not as optimistic about it because, like he said, as far as to go back to the other question, as far as with folks not being trained to deal with certain things, how you gonna ask that out of them when they're dealing with the same stuff? Everybody has an issue that they don't want to be accountable for. You know what you can do to fix it, but you won't, because that at that point means you got to be in front of everybody and they get to see it. That comes from poverty, whether you know you want to do something or not. That comes from the law enforcement, the school systems, whether you know you ain't smart enough or you ain't applying. That come from you not being accountable at them instances. So when you're talking about being in a work environment where you are already in competition with the same folks that look like you and the other folks that don't, why would they? Once you get up, you are not thinking about nobody else. And if you do get in the instance where you are thinking about whoever is qualified for the job, I'm gonna tell you right now, 9 times out of 10, whoever is quote unquote qualified are not us. It's already a stigma on the education system when it comes to us. So why would it happen? Nobody's going to be accountable for you but you. And until that happens, that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, I wanted to say, go ahead. I wanted to say, if we believe that it can be, I wanted to say you're right. If you think it can't be fixed, you're right. If you think it can be fixed, you're right. I think it can. I think all things are possible, especially for those willing to fight for it. I just wanted to say that the minimum wage in the state is $7.25, and it's been that for years, right? A living wage, if we had a living wage, it would be $23.92.
Can I say one thing? Hold on.
2.1 million people in Alabama are poor or low income, right? I wanted to say that in 2016, a group of us fought to have minimum wage increased, and we won. Remember in the Bible when it talks about wickedness in high places?
That's real.
4 white legislators, wickedness in high places. 4 white legislators got together. I've never seen the law change so fast in my life. They got together and they yanked it away from poor people and increased in. And so those people that's making $7, they have to work 2 and 3 jobs. 2 and 3 jobs are for 2 or 3 people, right? And so what I'm saying again is if we're organizing, if we're working together, activists, legislator, and the church, working together, we can build black political power. But we got to come together and not be like, those the activists, the loud people. When there's a place for everybody in movement work, the loud people, the suited and booted people, the folks in legislation, the church, and that's what we're working so hard to do now, is to bridge the gap between the activist community, the church and our elected officials so we can fight like hell for these things. Then we won't have to worry about who's giving who a job, because every job would be paying enough, right? And we need to talk about entrepreneurship more, because a job is just not for everybody.
Can I say this real quick? I want to add. I want to give some hope to my brother C, and brother Derek. Is your name brother Derek? Yeah, brother Derek. I want to give some hope to you all. Our board, we increased the salary for the pay for all custodians, CMP, which are the kitchen staff. Like, so they now make, I think, a minimum of $15 an hour. Over that, so that's double what that is. It's still not what it needs to be, but we made it so the minimum for all of our, so you can make, I was just somebody who didn't want to be in the politics. So going into that seat, me and my colleagues, we were able to increase that minimum salary to $15 an hour. And so again, you can make a difference. It might not be, if you might not fix everything, but we were able to change that. And so when I go into schools now, some of those people, like, they'll come up to me. They don't even know me. They'll be like, thank you. Like, when I go into the kitchen, like, they be like, man, what you want to eat? Like, I get treated well when I go in there because they appreciate that somebody cared enough about them. Like that, I believe if you're going to be customer first, you have to be employee first, because your employees take care of your customers. You can't treat your customers well because I don't touch the customers, but the employees do. So I got to take care of my employees if I want to take care of the customers.
Miss Deborah has a track record of fighting for people. Let's all get behind Miss Deborah, and we need help on the school board. Let's get her on the school board. When he was running for school board, I was like, we need to put some money behind. We need to get behind Jason. And then there was LaTanya Tate running for city council, who had a track record of fighting for prison reform and criminal reform. So me and some folks in my organization said, we gotta we gotta push after the runoff. We gotta push her over the top. And Jason. So just to say, this is Saturday evening. All of us say, we got to get Miss Deborah on the board, because we know Miss Deborah will do the right thing. Also, we can hold Miss Deborah accountable. We could create a black agenda telling her exactly what we want. Now we got somebody that we want in office and will push our agenda. I don't get in his business, but I know he know I'm watching, and I will send him a text message saying, hey, what was that vote about? That's what we can do, and put the right people in the office.
Yes, to piggyback off of what Pastor Meta said, I believe that the people, at some point we have to make a coalition or join together, because if we leave politicians to their vices, they're only going to do what they want to do for their stockholders and for their personal interests. Perfect example would be what's going on in East Palestine, Ohio, with the train deregulation that happened. So Norfolk Southern, they made over $12 billion in 2022, and they had profits around, I believe, $4.8 billion. There's no reason that these massive companies should be able to make billions upon billions of dollars, but as you said, that the Alabama state minimum wage is $7.25. Nobody's living off that. Me personally, I make $11.25 at the place I work. That only comes around to about $12,000 a year. If I wasn't in school, there's no way for me to live off that, because there's no way to get housing for that. So when you have all these massive companies that's making all these massive profits, but they aren't paying the workers who, the reason why they have those billions of dollars, you're not going to change anything. So we have to make these politicians, we have to stronghold them to do what we need them to do. When you're in the workforce, you need to create workers' coalitions or unions, because your capital owners are not going to pay you the wage that you really deserve. Because you need to understand, the capitalists and these people that are ultra rich, They didn't get there because they worked hard or they did everything right. They got there because they were lucky. They had people who were in their corner who were already multimillionaires. Had people in their corner who were already in high positions. So when you get these people who are in these high positions making choices and laws for you, they're gonna make the laws so where you have to keep suffering so they can get the highest profits that they can get. So unless we as the workers create coalitions and unions to, help ourselves to get the wages that we deserve, nothing is ever going to change. So it all stems back to us. We have to start, you know, rallying. We have to start protesting. We just can't sit on our butts and think that, the legislative branches of our government are going to do anything, because for the past like 40, 50 years since about Reagan has been in office, nothing has changed. You know, all this stems back, a lot of this stems back to Reagan and his trickle down economics. The reason why billionaires have all these tax cuts, they pay basically zero in taxes. So now the government isn't being stimulated with that money. That can be used for social programs. That can be used for education and for, helping police getting whatever funds that they need to help mental health institutes to get the funding that they need. If we don't start, going towards the people who actually have the problems, the root of the problem here, nothing is ever going to change, and we're going to be stuck having these conversations forever. So unless you guys really want to make a change, these conversations at one point, they have to end, they have to stop being conversations, and they have to start being actions. So that's what we have to do.
She's the last one. We're going to the next question. I'm sorry.
My name is Joy. I'm a member here at Victory Tabernacle. I was going to go back to the purpose of the original question was, why don't we see representation, or why do we see more representation in certain situations than others? And my biggest thing is I grew up very split. So I grew up, Birmingham, Center Point area. I went to McAdory for the critical developmental years of my life. Then I moved to Homewood, which everybody's like, oh, that's the white school. Everybody's like, oh, you're going to the white school now, you're going to the good school. Number one, that upset me because I'm like, in both situations, I'm getting my education. That's all I'm worried about at this present time, is making sure that I'm educated. After graduating from Homewood, I went to Auburn University at Montgomery. I graduated recently, so I'm happy about that. But one of the biggest things my teacher, her name was Dr. Ward, she told me, she said, Joy, when it comes to representation, both favoritism and skill comes into, they unite. She was like, when it comes to the workforce, they will always unite. So she's like, you need to build relationships with your teachers, with people who are in the environment that you want to go into. Like, I want to go into vet school, so I'm needing to talk to people who are in the program that I want to get into. I can't go down the street and talk to somebody who's in education hoping that I'm going to be able to get into vet school. That's not going to necessarily help me. But in this predicament, just to backtrack just a little bit to piggyback what my cousin said, our system, when it comes to representation, our system is broken. They only represent to hush. They don't represent to actually represent what we stand for. They represent, oh, we don't have enough black people, we don't have enough Indian people, and people are getting mad about that. We don't have enough gay people, they're getting upset about that. They don't see enough of what the people want represented. So, and I'll never forget my teacher in the 11th grade, she said, Joy, I want you to speak at a dinner representing civil rights. Her name was Mrs. Grant, and I had to write a 700-word representation on the civil rights. And she said, I'm doing this not because I want you to go out here and be like this black person who's walking across the stage, who's representing civil rights. She's like, I'm doing this because I believe that you're a good person for this situation. She was like, but if you feel at any point I'm using you to make Homewood look like we have black people who can represent us, you're free to step back. And that stuck with me because it's just like, is that really happening? Because at that time, I'm like, I didn't see it. I didn't see the fact that people were putting people of color, white people, Chinese people, Indian people, Hispanic people on certain platforms to keep a society hushed so that they feel seen. And I feel like if we make ourselves seen, it starts to break the system that's been created to keep us oppressed. So they don't want that to happen. So our biggest step forward is, okay, if you don't want us to be seen, we'll just show ourselves. I mean, period. There's nothing else that, if you're going to sit here and try to hide us and only represent us when it benefits you, I might as well just go ahead and represent myself. So at this point in time, of course, like my cousin said, there is a lot of talk and there's little action. But as we progress, I think the biggest benefit of our younger generation is the fact that we are so educated and that we can see right through the facade. We know exactly what they're trying to do. And I understand that that's going to take a lot of sacrifice, we're in a very overglorified prison. At some point, lives will be lost because a lot of people are not going to want to destroy the system that we have built. I mean, everybody's sitting here now. We all have a TV, a phone, microwave, fridge in our houses right now. Is very little percentage of people who are not sitting there with that luxury that our grandparents or great-grandparents weren't sitting there with. So to sit there and say, let's destroy the system, everybody else is like, but I can sit on my bed and watch TikTok like now. Like I can sit in my house and have a fan blowing on me right now. Nobody wants to destroy that system at the present time, but I feel like if we want the representation that we do deserve, we really have to step up and step out and show ourselves and stop waiting for somebody else to pick us to represent ourselves.
I just wanted to tell her about an organization called Millennial Bridge. It's my brother Roderick McClure started an organization. You can look it up on millennialbridge.com or either .org. And the purpose of the organization is to bridge the gap between the millennials and relationships with folks in high places to help. When millennials come out of college, they can get better jobs.
Okay.
Well, she says we can go to the next.
Yeah, we're going to the next question. Can you hold it, brother? I'm sorry. We pushing for time here. Okay, so just to change things, this question here is hold on. Instead of punishing students for having access to marijuana, create a project learning initiative that will promote creative thinking. Okay, hold on. Let me read that again. Okay. Okay, instead of punishing students or anybody, and I'm assuming, for having access to marijuana, create a project learning initiative that will promote creative thinking. Useful ways that marijuana can be used. How can law enforcement assist with this issue? Well, to be honest with you, I mean, okay, let me say something. First off, it goes back to who we vote in. Law enforcement can't change the laws, guys. Now, this question here, okay. That's just point blank, hands down, period. We cannot change laws. I mean, we cannot change the laws, guys. But, I mean, this is a great question as far as instead of locking people up always if they get caught with marijuana or anything, get those young people, because I know a lot of young people have access to THC. So, since you want to smoke it all the time or whatever you want to do with it, why not just create it and for a better use? But it'll come one day, I guess. Go ahead, Sarge. I'm sorry.
Officer Murray is correct. You know, police, we enforce the laws. We can't change the laws. But you guys, as the voters, you vote people into the legislation who creates the laws and change the laws. As a defense attorney, I hate people that come in. They'll come in for UPOM second, which is a misdemeanor of marijuana. Well, did you know that your second charge is now a felony? And now I'm, got great job, beautiful family, not a criminal. He just likes marijuana. And now he has a felony on his record.
This is so deep. I need a timer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just need, you got me? Give me one. Yeah, thank you, please, 2 minutes. Let me start off from someone who smoked marijuana for like too long and was so high I couldn't remember. I can't remember like 2 days I wasn't high, like for a whole period of my life. So I'm giving myself some credibility. Whoever asked that question, like, so I don't judge. You know, it's such a deep question. First of all, the legal system towards drugs is completely skewed. You see now there's a lot of help for opioids, but there was no help for crack. You know, because we know who was being affected by crack and who's being affected by opioids. So, like, I do think, you know, there should be some different things around marijuana, you know, but I will say that that's a legislative issue. It is, you can see it's being decriminalized across this country slowly. I don't know when it will ever hit the South, because, you know, but for those who want to smoke it, they might want to find somewhere else to live. I'll just be honest with you, because it's Alabama, and it'll be a long time before what's happening in Colorado, you know, what's happening here. So the last thing I would say is, with that being said, you know, we need to understand in our community about learning how the system works and not falling in the loopholes of the system. Because until we understand that this is what it is, you will always fall in that hole. So just be aware of the landscape. You see what's happening in Colorado, California. That's not Alabama. And you can't expect California and Colorado to be Alabama, because it just don't work that way. They're still policing it. Like, it's not as hard. I mean, jobs. There's a lot of jobs that don't test for it anymore. I know that, but we're not Colorado. I want to say that.
She said, go ahead on the marijuana. They right. I don't think marijuana will never be legalized down here in Alabama. We're a Bible Belt state. It's not finna happen. And the only reason they legalized the medical marijuana is because, thank you, they making money, and they gonna keep making money off it. And that's how they get money, because the more money they get, the richer it make them. So marijuana ain't finna go nowhere. So if you smoke it, this is me from a law enforcement to you. If you smoke marijuana, do it at home. Do your marijuana at home. Don't drive in the car. Don't be all out in public smoking your marijuana. We in Alabama. So the first scent of marijuana we smell, guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna stop your car, we're gonna search you. You probably just have a little gram of marijuana. Now you got a gun on you that's probably stolen, or something else that you didn't want the police to find. So at the end of the day, just stay at home. Stay at home.
I'm scared to talk because y'all just clapped for that.
I mean, that's true, though. I ain't saying it's right. I'm just saying if you're going to do it, just do it at home.
Well, it's definitely not going to be decriminalized soon, because Kay Ivey just put all of our money, COVID money, into prisons. And so she has to fill them. And so one of the best ways to do it is make sure we don't disrupt the school to prison pipeline, and to make sure that that little things like a little marijuana that ain't hurting nobody. I just really think that our police officers just, first I believe that we should get cops out of traffic stops. And that's a whole nother topic and needs to be educated on. I'd be scared, don't be wanting to say stuff that we hadn't done a lot of social media around, because sometimes it take a while for us to catch up to it. Even though, I think with the abolitionist mindset, I hate prisons. I hate jail. 70% of the people that's in the county or like the Birmingham jail are there only because they're poor, because they can't afford to get out. How do I know? We have a program called the Black Mama Bailout, where we bail out black women because they went to jail, they just sitting there. So if you committed a crime and I commit the same crime, but you have the money to get out, you get to go home and take care of your affairs, I have to sit there because I don't have the money. So money is holding people in jail, and most of them have mental issues. All of the women that I spoke with, they had some type of mental issue. So now they sit in jail and not getting the care that they need. But that's something else. But again, with the marijuana, my son told me he moving to Colorado, but I don't believe him. But I told my son he should join activism and get all the weed smokers to organize and go to our mayor's office and say, you see a little bit of weed in the car, just throw it away. Just throw it away. But continue, take folks to jail for what? The jails are overcrowded.
I'm about to say, yeah.
Okay, let me say this. Every time I say something about the police, y'all say, well, don't say all. I didn't say the word all. I'm not saying all, but when we talk about our young people, I don't say not all of them, but y'all say young people, or y'all say folks acting up. I'm not saying all y'all. All the police ain't bad, but all the police also ain't telling on the bad police. So that's not what I'm doing.
Now that's true, but you got to think about it. That's an attorney down here. I'm a law enforcement officer. I want to go to law school too. And the Title 13A book is a criminal code that's in there for unlawful possession of marijuana.
Yeah, I know.
That would never be changed. I don't care what you say. All the black people can go down there to the state governor office down there, to Kay Ivory, and guess what she gonna say? I don't care if you vote a Democrat governor in there. Guess what he gonna say? I'm not doing it.
It's going to change.
It's gonna change.
If it change, all us gonna be dead and
I
gone.
also want to say, we might be dead, but I also want to say, Pastor, and you know this, we are powerful above measure. We can do whatever we put our mind to. When I realized that my voice matters and that there's a power in me, I became an activist and I started advocating on behalf of other people, right? I didn't know that I could walk inside a Regions Bank when Regions was getting ready to do business with a private prison company called Core Civic. And me and two more friends walked into Regions Bank and just talked to them about stories. And I shared the story about how when I was pregnant with my son in 1993, I couldn't wait to go back out. I couldn't wait so I can have fun and my son have all his uncles and big brothers and everything. After I had him and was able to go back out, I went down by T's and everybody was gone to prison or dead. And that was because of the failed 3 strikes law and the failed war on drugs. I told them that story and I said that when Regions was working with Core Civic back in the day in their board, that they were, that was around the time when it was profitable to incarcerate black bodies, and it still is, right? But within 4 days of our meeting, Regions decided to pull out. We are powerful. And we can do whatever we put our mind to.
I'm Pastor Stanley. No, I'll just. I didn't want to say anything, but I had to say something about this. Ironically, we just had a conversation with Bishop about this, and our Bishop is a brilliant man. He said some things that were brilliant. But I kind of want to just talk about it from the economic standpoint, that it is an economic incubator. I sit on I don't know what it is, a commission or something. They're putting things in place now for medical marijuana in Alabama. I sit on that panel. They're making decisions right now. If you want to do medical marijuana in Alabama, you got to first uh, state the municipality that you're gonna have it at. You got to have a business license in that municipality, and then you got to go to the state and pay them $25,000 just for them to say yes or no, and you don't get that money back. So that tells you right now that if you got $25,000 to lose, you have money. You got a lot of money. Once you go through the state process, then you got to go to that municipality, which most of the dispensaries in Alabama are going to be right in the city of Birmingham. Right now, I know of at least 14 to 15 that are going to be right in Birmingham. And they're not going to be mom and pops. You're going to look at your Walgreens, your CVS's, places like that going to be selling marijuana. And they're going to have all of the economic power to do that in the state of Alabama. It's not going to be, the reason I'm on there because I deal with the community a lot. And this is not going to be something that's going to be taken to the neighborhoods. And they're not going to know it's there. And it's a reason why, I'm trying to remember his name. Maybe you can help me out. Ms. McClure, I believe he was over the House of Representatives, Boehner. Is that John Boehner? John Boehner. No, House of Representatives, so for Washington, in Washington. John Boehner. John Boehner just resigned quickly. Does anybody know why he resigned? Because he is now the #1 seller of marijuana in the United States of America. He has stock in companies. He immediately became a stockholder in these companies that are selling marijuana. And where are they selling the marijuana? They're selling it to you. And it's an economic incubator. So it's all about economics. And economics, the only way economics work, you got to have poor people in economics. If you don't have poor people, it don't work. And so it's no economics without people that are at the bottom that cannot afford what they're putting out. So we have to be careful. I heard the question. The question was, I work with business licenses all the time, and a lot of people ask this all the time with me, but just like the police, we only enforce what is law. We can't change any laws. We only can enforce what is law. So what you have to do is change the people that's making the laws. That's what you have to do.
Amen, Pastor. And I was just going to go back to, since we in the house of God, people perish for what? A lack of what? So you have to inform yourself. And once you understand, the Bible tells us one of my favorite scriptures, in all thy getting, get an understanding. Until you, like Miss McClure, she's a wealth of knowledge. She's successful because she knows. You can't change anything until you understand how it operates, which has been very encouraging to hear our young people, see and Joy and Preston to talk, because they're getting there. Like they have information. Now it's taking that information and mobilizing it. That's where you're going to get change. And so, I think that our people, that scripture, our people perish for lack of knowledge. People benefit off of our ignorance. Point blank and period. Every day somebody wakes up and makes millions. Just Google. I want to give you all 3 things. I'm finished. Google the forecasted earnings, the expectations of earnings for the cannabinoid industry, THC weed. Just Google how much money that's expected to be made this year and over the next few years, and just let that sink in. Also understanding for those out, this is probably not news to anybody, prisons are private business, if you did not know that. So just like Wings of Kings, where you like to eat at, you know what I'm saying, Green Acres, it's an owner of the prison system, just like Green Acres. It's a mom and pop operation, and prisons are ran, so people profit. It is not a part of the governmental system. People profit off of the prisons. And the third thing I learned was that even like, I didn't know this until I was an adult, that even the paramedics are not controlled by, those are private businesses. They're not the police. They're not like the fire department. So it's business all around us. Things that we think are there to be aids to us, it's a business. It's not an aid. It's not to serve you. It's to make money off of you.
Okay, so go back to Detective Cunningham when he said stay at home and smoke marijuana. He didn't elaborate, because if you smoke marijuana in your car, that gives a reason. It's called warrantless search for the police to get into your vehicle and now search your vehicle, which most of the time they find other things. But if you do get arrested for marijuana, your life is not over. You don't want to get that conviction. So when you do go to court, you can ask for things called deferred prosecutions or any little programs out there to help you go through. Sometimes, yep, it do cost money and time, but you don't want to get that conviction, because like I said, if you get arrested that second time, now it's a felony. But also, a couple of years ago, Kay Ivy, she did change the law. At first, you couldn't get an expungement for anything that you had pled guilty to, any kind of conviction. But now the law has changed where you can get an expungement. Unfortunately, the filing fee has went up, but there are organizations out there to help if you can't afford to file it. There are organizations out there to file on your behalf. So, make sure y'all check out those expungements for anyone you know who do have that conviction of marijuana.
I just want to make sure y'all know about 270,000 poor and low-income people in Alabama reported that they sometimes or often do not have enough food to eat. I also wanted to say the reason that I believe that we can make change, and if we start now, is because in 2018, 300 and maybe 40,000 registered voters did not go back to the polls to vote. We wouldn't even have Kay Ivy. We would have, what was the guy name that I ran with? Maddox. I was a statewide candidate at that time. I was running for Public Service Commission. We could have a whole different scenery right now had those folks came out to vote. That's why I'm so optimistic. But it's going to take some time, and it's going to take all of us. And you could join Faith and Works, Black Church Community Voter Project, and we all work together to talk to people about what matters to them, and then build a campaign around what matters to them. So we can make a difference if we all, for 2 years, just get locked in. don't, that's not the type of activist, when you say activist, not all of us are that kind of activist. I'm a different kind of activist. I'm also the founder of Black Lives Matter Birmingham. And one thing that we advocate for was state-sanctioned violence, right? And so young black people, they smoke weed. So we can maybe people who don't smoke weed anymore, or who want them to do something different, could talk to them about that. I was a homeless single mom, so I talked to single moms about how to get out of homelessness. I don't smoke weed, so I don't talk to people about not smoking weed. I talk to my son about it. Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's their choice, right? And there's also some police officers like the ones in Memphis that killed Tyree. They had a choice to not de-escalate, right? And then, but you see all the others where the officers, when a white person is killed, they know how to de-escalate. So they know when to de-escalate and when not to de-escalate. So it's their choice. So I'm not finna fuss at us. I'm gonna fuss at y'all. That's what I do. Right. And I love that. I like when young people speak up. I'm not gonna be upset with you. And then we can work together. Yeah. Yeah. You know how they do the stop the violence rallies. You don't see me at those stop the violence rallies, although I'm for those who believe in stop the violence rallies. Like, go do it. I don't know who you talking to, they just stop the violence rallies. I'd rather that we talk to our elected officials about poverty. About let's make sure folks can eat. Let's make sure our communities are clean. Let's make sure we have social workers who can go help mentally folks who need mental help. I just believe in other ways, alternatives, instead of just always fussing at us. Like, we need help. Our communities need help. I'm not gonna fuss it. I'm gonna let other folks fuss at us. Yeah. 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 You're right. I hate jail. I hated it as a child because jail is the answer to everything. And you know why it's the answer to everything? Because folks don't want to use their brain to think of real solutions. It don't take. If you say, how are we going to fix crime? My brain don't have to do no type of gymnastics to come up with jail. It just jail. But it takes some work for my brain if I say, you know what? It may take about 5 years, but if we organize and come up with some alternatives, and we start in this community first, and we make sure this community has these many resources, and then we take this many dollars and budget for that. That's a lot of work for our brain, right? Nobody wants to use the brain to come up with real solutions. It's very easy to say millions of dollars to the police department. I'm glad I said that, because Alabama law enforcement agencies receive $78.8 million in surplus Department of Defense equipment to further militarize police activities. What is that?
That's not true.
What jurisdictions?
I was about to say that's not true. because Bessemer don't have nothing. We don't have a helicopter. We don't got nothing.
I just had a conversation with the sheriff because there was a picture on social media of a tank, a military tank. And I contacted him and said, why is that there? So, like, that's a good investment. Like, why does Alabama need a tank? Why does Birmingham need a tank? Why does Jefferson County need a tank? And he said, I'll remove it immediately.
We need one.
Yeah, because we're like the military for our city. We can't
People.
bring back our.
Y'all need a tank.
But you also got to think about, we need it, but you got to look at this though. We need it, but what the public got? Let's be real.
Dracos.
People out here that's blind to what people doing, that is out here really doing things. Man, these people got tanks. These people got rifles. These people got big guns. They got way bigger guns than us. And I'm not saying to take that away from you. You doing your job. But as law enforcement, we're not supposed to be trained to be a military type thing. We're supposed to be for the public, to help protect the public. But there are people out here, man, that got their hands on stuff like that. They got grenades. They have black market stuff. Like, if we look into it, people actually have those type of things that law enforcement don't have. In Bessemer, we don't even have rifles that's issued to us.
We don't have tasers either.
Nothing. We going out there dealing with people with rifles that was Dracos. You look on video, a dude pulling out a whole rifle out of his pants and start just shooting. But y'all expect us to go to a scene with just a pistol with 19 rounds to deal with somebody with a whole drum on their rifle.
No, we expect you to show up in a tank.
I mean, okay, but look at this though. All right, but you saying that, but how many law enforcement you actually think that's out here to the public? If the whole public get mad at law enforcement right now and just go to war, how can we go to war with them?
What do you want people to do in a situation like that that's breaking law?
No, I didn't. What I want is facilities that rehabilitate. The jail, as we know it right now, make us
one at a time, guys.
Inhumane and tries to create animals so they can reincarcerate those people. You could do your own research. But
Okay, do me a favor. Y'all change numbers and y'all have a great conversation after this, okay? That's what y'all need. Just exchange numbers. I believe y'all will be. Yeah. Hold on 1 second, okay? Because we're not doing any more questions. We will not get to those other questions. We're not gonna do it, okay?
I think to answer your question of why you believe people do marijuana even though they know it's illegal, I think just saying something is illegal without, realizing that there are laws that are, unlawful and unjust doesn't really change a situation. Like, years ago, it was unlawful for any of us to even vote for anything. That doesn't mean that that was a right law just because it was the law. So, when we talk about like marijuana, it has this like very strange stigma because it's scheduled as a Schedule 1 drug, which includes stuff like crack, cocaine, heroin, meth, when it doesn't do the same things to the body that it does, like heroin and stuff like that. People die way more to like alcohol than they would ever do to marijuana, yet that's legal because, we can profit from it. People die from cancer because they smoke cigarettes all the time, but since we can profit off of that, it's not illegal. So saying that, these people shouldn't be doing it because it's illegal, even though that the law in a way is kind of unjust, it just doesn't really make sense to me personally, because if it was for me, I would say something like alcohol should be way more illegal. That's readily accessible everywhere you go. You can go to Walmart, get some beer. You can go to Applebee's, get a margarita, and you can drive home while you're intoxicated. And that's like a social norm in our society. Yet we want to compound on people smoking marijuana, even though it doesn't do the same harmful effects as something as more dangerous as something like heroin does to people. I'm not saying everybody should be going around smoking marijuana, and I don't, I just don't believe that. But I don't think that the law against marijuana is really just to me. But that's just something that we can't really control. If people believe that it can be profitable, then I believe the law would be changed. I mean, that's just how most things are. If somebody sees profit in something, they're gonna get that overruled, because at one point in time, alcohol was against the law, and then they realized that, oh, well, we're losing a lot of money in the economy, and even at the same point, even though it was unlawful, people were still drinking, and they started creating alcohol that was even more dangerous than the legal alcohol that they already had at the time. And that moonshining business is still something that's active to this day, that is way more harmful than a lot of the drugs that we have in the system. So when you're talking about drugs, people are gonna do drugs. You're not gonna be able to stop people from doing drugs. If you build social safety nets that allow people to do these drugs in the most comfortable places that they can, you have people who are trained in this stuff. So if somebody happens to overdose, they can get the care that they need. If somebody wants to change from doing drugs, they have the social safety nets to be able to change that. But to, you know, criminalize people doing drugs and putting them in jail, and then expecting them to change while they're in jail, when jail really doesn't do the job it's supposed to do with rehabilitation, it's just there to put you as a number so that people can profit from it, you're not going to really change anything. So I think the stigma around drugs as a whole has to change first before we really get into like the legal battles that we have with it right now. Because like I said, people been doing drugs since the beginning of time. You're not going to be able to stop people from doing this stuff. So at some point, we need to reconfigure the way we have these conversations so that we can come to a better understanding with everybody. That's what I believe.
Thank you. Go ahead with her. Get out, sir.
Hey everybody, I'm Catherine. I'm Joseph's sister. And just to piggyback off of what Miss McClure said about you dislike jails and stuff like that, and you feel like they need to create a place where people can go and get um, come back to themselves or get rehabilitated or something like that. I wouldn't say I agree with you or disagree with you. My thing is this: when you have real, true criminals out there, you need somewhere to put them. People such as taking people's lives, God give life. How can you take it? They need somewhere to go. Men and women that find pleasure in touching kids, they need somewhere to go. You can put them in a rehabilitation center and they'll still get out and do that same thing again. It has been proven. It has been proven more than once. Not too long ago in the city of Birmingham, a man killed someone. He was released on bail, went and killed someone else while on bail. I feel as if those type of crimes, we need a prison, because I don't want them around my kids. I don't want them to take anybody's life that's around me or people that I know. And in these times of days, every time we flick the channel on the news, it's a killing, it's an attempted murder, it's something. I agree with Jonathan. If I choose to go out there and sell 18,000 kilos of marijuana, cocaine, whatever, I know the circumstances that come with it. It's either I'm gonna get caught, I gotta go to jail. I gotta take those decisions. Because if they rehabilitate me and I get back out, guess what I'm gonna do? Oh, it's fast money in this. I can do right for a year straight. But when I see Susan over here, she moving birds and she ain't getting caught, I'm gonna go back and do those same things again. So don't just that's your opinion, and I agree with you on it. But to say we do not need jails and you hate we need them. Well, just to say you dislike them, okay, I don't like them neither, but that's the place that they have to go.
I never said that we don't need them.
That's just the way that I interpret it. Like,
And that's fine.
yeah.
I said I don't like them, and the reason is and once again, I never said, oh, I'm not stupid. I do understand that there are folks who do heinous crimes, right? And there should be a place for them. But also, I don't like using like Republican or conservative talking points. When you really look into the system and you think about the number of people that are incarcerated for low-level crimes, they fill up the jail. So what we do is we talk about that small percentage that do, like KIV is building a 4,000 bed prison. You got thousands of people over the age of 70 in the jail that causes no threat to us. Look at all of the numbers, and I'll provide that to you. When you look at the number of people that's in jail, you're gonna be like, oh, wait a minute, that handful are the ones that did the heinous crimes. The vast majority of people in jail need rehabilitation, but it's so much going on in the prison. There's somebody in prison for a robbery of $50. Every single day we see people come out of the prison system that did nothing. They were innocent. Every single day, and they are being released after 30 and 40 years of being caged. Also, the history of policing is another reason why I don't like it. Pastor, when we talk about a firm foundation, when you build a marriage, you want to start it up on a good foundation, right? Our policing system is built on a system of slave catching. That was the purpose of police. So it was never demolished. It was never.
I agree. No. I agree with you.
I did
agree.
not create that.
No.
I'm just talking about the history.
I get the history of
I'm
policing.
talking about the history of policing.
She talking
All
about
I'm
just the
saying
history, okay?
Is that it
But
was never changed.
And I agree, it was never changed, Cunningham. We got to agree with it now.
Agree with that, but policing didn't come from slavery.
No, but the history of policing
Jim Crow.
didn't come from slave catching, and we are. And
Bull Connor.
this is not an opinion. This is a fact. When you leave here, all you have to do is Google the history of policing. I'm just talking about the. Yeah, we are so programmed. Okay. I did not say slavery. I said policing.
You said slavery.
Slave catching. Catching us. Catching our bodies. Controlling black bodies was the foundation of it. And all I'm saying is that nobody never went to the drawing board and say, let's reconfigure this so we can protect our communities and serve our communities. What?
But no. But yes, Ms. McClure, I agree with you on that one. Cunningham, she wasn't saying that whatever you thought she was saying, but I honestly agree with what she was saying. Back in the day, okay, you have masters, okay? What did they do with the black people? They beat them, did them wrong, everything. And then policing is basically the same way. That's what a lot of people look at it, being the same way, because you got Jim Crow, then you had Bull Connor. What did they do? They fire hosed all the black people back in the day in Birmingham, and this happened right here in our own city. So yes, I agree with you on that one. And it's still like that to this day in certain parts. But the thing is, we as police officers trust and believe, and I can say this and I can say this, I'm blue in the face. You have to learn, and I tell people, a lot of people ask me, why am I doing this or why am I doing that? But I tell them, first off, you have to build a rapport with people. Then you got to learn how to talk to people, because you wear a badge and you wear a gun doesn't mean that you are, you just have to talk to people any kind of way. No, I try to talk to people first, okay? Way before anything else happens. You have to learn how to speak with people and speak in a tone, especially if you're dealing with people in mental illness, and that's a totally different thing. Why black people don't go get help? Why we always keeping our mouth shut? I mean, seriously though, you may not think that you don't need help, but I guarantee you, you need some type of help. I need help.
Amen.
We all do.
But I'm serious. The thing is, earlier when we first started speaking, Cunningham stated something about police officers with mental health. Some of these officers have PTSD. I work in a school. I'm a school resource officer. Then I'm on the streets at times. So just think about the things that I have to go through. People say, oh, your job is easy. No, it is not working in a school. I fight more in a school than I did on the streets. And that's the honest truth. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, but we as black officers, these young officers that we have here, we do try to make change. We really, really do. We really do. I know you did, but I'm just letting you know that we try to be the best that we can be.
You know how instead of just going to the lunchroom, they would go to a classroom and it was almost like jail. And it all starts there. And we just don't understand because we're so programmed to be policed and we so programmed to be surveilled till we don't really know when it's over policing.
I have a question for the audience, because the audience have a lot of knowledge too. I'm actually in a situation now where I have a client who keeps getting in trouble for petty thefts. Like it'd be a theft of property third, which is a misdemeanor, a disorderly conduct, or he recently was charged with a robbery because of the shoplifting. They said that he threatened a lady. So I guess my question is, because when I look at it as an attorney, I get mad with these particular officers because I'm saying they know he has mental health. But on the flip side, when this victim comes to court and say, you know, on the robbery case, he was stealing some tissue, and she's alleging that when, you know, he was coming through the doors, he said, "You better not touch me, or I beat your ASSS." So it seems like I keep finding myself, every 3 months he'll call me, because when he takes his meds, he's fine. He can have a conversation with me and you, but he suffers from schizophrenia. And when he's off his meds, he's gone. And as an attorney, you know, I represent him, I advocate for him, and he asked me, "What do you want?" He said, "I just want to get out of jail." And I'm like, you know, okay, I get him out of jail. But yeah, it's beneficial for me because he keeps coming back as a client, but at the same time, it's kind of a nuisance because it's like, I keep going into the same court, advocating and saying the same old thing. It's like a revolving door. It's like, so what can I reached out to his family, and his brother kind of washed his hands with him because he probably lacked the training to deal with a schizophrenia guy. He said he loves his brother, but he don't know what to do. So I'm asking y'all, as the black community, what do we do? What, ma'am?
What is triggers?
What is this trigger? Because the brother says just when he gets off his meds.
Then you're going to constantly have them on medication. Going to my police officer, I love my police officer to death, and I thank y'all for y'all services. You said if you come into a home and there's a parent and a child, and you're called there for no apparent reason. If I call a police officer to my house for an unruly child, I'm not calling you there to take anybody to jail. I'm calling you to support me getting my child back on the straight and narrow, because I know if he go out there breaking somebody's house or hanging with the wrong people, not knowing that they have a gun, he gonna be in jail. So then you're gonna say, well, you should have called us. Well, I'm calling you and you coming and saying that is no reason for you to come. It is a reason for you to go. One, if I lay my hands on them, that's a DHR charge and possibly a police charge. Then I'll be having a conversation with a whole group of different people. So I'm calling you as a backup to say, hey, let's talk about the issue. When my parents, I grew up in a functional household. Both my parents was in the home. We had, my mom taught school. My dad was a blue-collar worker. When my brother got in trouble, the police came into my house and told my brother, come on, you coming with us. They took him and put him on the PTA baseball team. They had an intervention when my parents couldn't stop him from hanging with the wrong crowd. They made him play baseball every summer. I like to see that back out in the community. We can work collectively. School system. Our school want us to parent our children. I parent my children, however. When I send my children to school, I don't send them to school to be on their cell phone. I need the school to say, hey, put that cell phone down, get your lesson. What's 1 + 1? What's your ABC? I need my children to learn what a verb, a subject, a noun, and all of that. I don't need them to learn how to navigate TikTok, Snapchat, and all that other stuff. So I need my school system to stand up. And for the life of me, I don't even know why y'all have the 12th grade. Y'all say our children are grown at 18. Grown people get skills. In the 12th grade, my child need to be learning skills. My child need to be turned into a college class. You can enlist all these college professors to come into the school, make that a program for children in the 12th grade. Put them in a separate building, but still keep it under the education program. I'm hearing all these issues, but no solution. We got a lot of Indian chiefs in here, but we don't have enough Indians to want to step up and map out a plan to do what needs to be done. I done sat here and listened to everybody's issue and came up with several plans on how to help our school system. Yes, we can take it to the higher up. Why not start here in the community, getting the community together, come up with a plan, go as a community, take it to whoever we need to take it to, and get it resolved. The system was always designed to fail, always, and that's what it's doing. It's doing its job, and it's doing it well, because look at us, sitting up here in this church trying to come up with a solution, but nobody has came up with a solution. So my suggestion and challenge to all of us, be part of the solution and not the problem, because right now all I'm hearing is everybody's a part of the problem. I haven't heard one solution. I've heard take it to this person, they can resolve it. Take it to this person and resolve it. How about you be an activist? How about you do?
That's part of the solution.
But we're not having a plan. What's the plan? What's the plan? The plan is
What you said,
Yeah, we kinda
what you
did
said
that.
is like
Okay.
60% of the calls that we deal with. People call us to come to their homes to, to de-escalate. But police officers, I don't know about other municipalities. Well, I'm gonna say other municipalities because I was talking to the police in New York. We are short-staffed. I would love to be able. I'm not on the streets anymore, but I would love to be able to sit down, talk to that child, like I said, find out what's the triggers, what's really going on. But when you're moving from call to call to call, we don't really have time to sit down there and figure out, counsel them or figure out what's really going on. We got to go to the next call. Actually, you were saying everybody keep pointing fingers at everybody, and we need solutions. Well, he talked about innovation earlier, and that actually gave me some knowledge. Our systems are outdated.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't want to sound. I'm not a confrontational person, but like everything you said is exactly everything I said. I said we need innovation. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but the statement was made that nobody's offered solutions. I said from the very beginning, the first question, until the adults change our minds, the children won't change. I talked about the system needing to be innovative. Like we have systems. Do we know slavery? Do we know that slavery is still legal? Do y'all know that? Where is it legal? In the prison. That's literally written. That's written in the law. The 13th Amendment tells you that slavery is still legal in prison. So when we talk about, first we have to get an understanding. I talked about building community. I told this young man about building up a PTA. If he wants to change the school system, I promise you, we're elected officials. If you bring a gang of people, a good gang of people to our office, to our meetings, I only serve because people voted me in. You want to make the mayor, you want to make the city council, you want to make anybody do anything? Bring a volume of people to any problem, and they're going to find a way to take their agenda for that day and throw it away, and they're going to work on your problem, because what they don't want is the news getting involved, and now it's become a whole movement of people saying this is a problem, and then the people who we say, we pay you now, we don't get paid any money. You know what I'm saying? I get paid $620 a month to be on the school board. It's not enough, okay? It's not enough. But some of these people make a good living to serve and advocate on your behalf. And if you mean to tell me you all show up in numbers and say, I want this problem fixed, and then we turn a blind eye to it, when 4 years come around, you can say, you know what? I remember when we came to the school board, we came to the city council, and we brought this issue up. My brother had his camera on. You know, we love to catch a fight. We can catch that on there and then pull it and run the commercial and say, here, I can show you where we brought this problem, and they refuse to hear us. That's literally the answer because the system produces what the system was created to produce. What we've got to do is learn how to work this system until we can change it. Giving up, I broke down in tears when I heard these young people, because I said, you know what, giving up. I'm a hip hop historian. There's an album, there's a line that says, it's from an Outkast album. And the guy said he got pissed enough to miss the bus. All right? That is what has happened to us for too long. You get pissed enough to miss the bus. You get mad at the system, so you say, I'm going to quit, I'm going to go home. And you know what happens? It continues to produce the same old dysfunction. We have to get angry enough to show up and make some noise. And until that happens, nothing's going to ever change, because we get mad and say it ain't going to work. Okay, well, go home. That's exactly what they want you to do.
I also want to talk about, and this is a solution. Instead of my son, when he was acting out, I remember he drove me to my knees. He was just awful. I went about this book called The Power of a Praying Mom, and those prayers actually help. But also, I remember just crying out, God, I need help. And all of a sudden, I just started calling all the men in my family. I called people who I had done business with. I called out and I said, I'm going to create Team Brandon. So, and I talked to them. And so whenever he did something good, I would call folks on Team Brandon and say, Brandon will be home from school at 3 o'clock. He actually increased his grade. I need you to call at 3:25. I'll call the next person. I need you to call at 3:45. And so to reinforce, hey, Brandon, I heard you doing great work. Or Team Brandon would come if Brandon was acting up, because I was a single mom. And so there was never a time that to me I'm just trying to figure out, because I don't want to be combative either, but I'm just saying, let's think about creating teams around our children instead of calling the police, because they already have a bad. Some of them may have your basketball coach, the coach, and it could be 3. I had 5, and they created Team Brandon, and they just was there for me and there for Brandon. And one day, out of the book, The Power of a Praying Mom, one of the prayers was about Brandon friends. And I said that prayer. I did my praise and worship. Brandon came home from school and said, Mama, Junebug moving. And I didn't want to go nuts and, start shouting right there. But when he left out the room, I did a praise, because he was hanging out with Junebug and they was getting in trouble. And for no reason, Junebug family was moving. So I just started saying those prayers and trusting God. And then one day, Brandon came home from school, y'all, and said, Mom, I'm doing a transformation.
All right, so I want to answer.
But,
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just saying that I did the necessary steps, and I did some other things that I don't like to say in front of people because I don't want them thinking that I'm saying quit your job. But I quit my job, even if it meant being homeless, and we were, for not on the street, but whatever it took to save Brandon, I did it.
So I wanted to answer Ms. Kendra Ward Young's question. At some point, there is only so far you can go before you start mixing your morality with your profession. You're a lawyer. You're not a mental health professional. If you were, then you'd be able to help your client the best way that you could. But at some point, we can only go so far in our profession before we start overstepping boundaries. Me as a veterinarian, I cannot walk up into a hospital and start saying, oh, this guy, he needs an amputation, just because I see on him what I might have seen on a dog. It's not gonna work the same way. So you can only keep doing what you're doing in the best of your ability. When I was in college, our teachers give us all the resources that we need to be successful. You can give your client as much as resources as he needs to be successful. It is on him and his family to make the decision to get him the help that he needs. It is not your responsibility to step out of your profession and to step out of your expertise to try and help someone, because at what point does it affect you to try and help someone beyond of what you're able to help them? You can only point them in the direction that they need to go. So my answer to you is you can only keep doing what you're doing and give him the help or point him in the direction of help that he needs. You can't do it yourself. You can't do it all, because we all looked at the police officers and said, handle everybody's mental health. They're not made to do that. They are made to put justice on our system by the laws that they're meant to protect. They're not meant to go out and be like, okay, Tommy, we're gonna have to respect our mom. They're not made to do that. They're like, Tommy, you're gonna either cut it out or you're going to jail. That is their job. Like, Tommy, quit beating up on your mama, or you're gonna go to jail for battery and things of that nature. So you can only do your job. Don't try to step out of bounds and do stuff, because then that puts too much pressure on you, and that's just not your responsibility.
That is correct.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
correct.
you. That is
Hey, but I
definitely
wanna
correct.
talk about what she was talking about.
Okay, let's
about,
get. Come on, we gotta cut.
All right, mine's gonna be
we'll
quick.
be here this long doing regular church service. Come on,
mine's
yeah,
gonna
we
be
gotta
quick.
cut it short.
Mine's gonna be quick.
We gotta cut it short. We gotta cut it short.
Hey, but on you, when you said that we need to come out and talk to your kid, I feel like, hey, you're an adult. You talk to your own kid. When I got in trouble, that man right there with that burgundy suit right there, he ain't play a game with me. So, oh yeah. But back when you said about, yeah.
But see, that's the problem right there. The police being called out to. I understand that. But the thing is, now, okay, so now I'm gonna call the police on you. I get that, but we didn't have that back in our days when we were younger. And another thing is, we don't have a village anymore, so that's why we're in the predicament we're in right now. Okay? We don't have a village. You can't say nothing to my child. I can't say nothing to your child. So therefore, we all are lost. And until we get it back, until we get that village back, I believe that we will be in a better state than what we are in right now. Okay? That's just it. It is. It is what it is.
I wanted to say.
So Miss McClure, we gonna talk after church, okay? I'm serious. We gonna talk after church. But we have to go, y'all, for real. It's 1:00. We don't be in church this long. I'm sorry, Pastor. I'm sorry. It wasn't me. But I do appreciate each and every one of you all. Victory Tabernacle, appreciate you all for coming out. Because we know you all could have been anywhere else. But you all came and spoke with us, and our pastor allowed it. Thank you, Pastor. And we just want to present these gifts to you all just for coming out and spending time with us on your busy schedules. Everyone is busy. We now know that you all are busy. And we love you, Victory Tabernacle, love you. This is our pastor, and this is our first lady over here. And we just couldn't make this happen without you guys. And we want to thank you for coming and being with us on today, okay? Thank you.
Okay, and hands, and now we have hands in the, what is? Back in the hands of our pastor.
Will y'all give Sister Rashay Murray a big hand? Media team, while I'm up, go on get the announcements up. Go on put it up now. But I want to do this. We want to thank God for our moderator today. She worked. And she is also Bessemer police officer. Amen. Does a great.
Hello there, and welcome to Victory Tabernacle's announcements of the week. Today is Sacrifice Sunday. We ask that you share a seed over and beyond your tithe and offering. Please consider sharing a special seed today. Our goal is to eliminate our mortgage to our additional building this year. We can make this happen if we work together as one. First Wednesday is back for March on March 1st. Evangelist Juanita Smith will be the speaker. Free dinner will be serving at 5:30 p.m. and worship service starts at 6:45 p.m. Come on out and invite a friend. The Marriage Retreat is coming back for 2023. See where it will be on Thursday, March 2nd at 7 p.m. on Marriage Matters Facebook page as we reveal all things retreat for 2023. Join in with our Sunday School department every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook or YouTube under Victory Tabernacle COGIC. Learn more about God and share your knowledge of God during this interactive lesson each week. Our financial assessments are approaching in March. All conditional holders have a national assessment for the Church of God in Christ, and we also have jurisdictional assessments as well. Please check with Pastor concerning your assessment, and the deadline to turn in is Sunday, March 12th. Our spring workers meeting is right around the corner. It begins March 13th through March 18th. All services will be held at True Light COGIC in Huntsville, Alabama. Services are in person and will be streamed on Facebook on the Alabama First Media page. Next Sunday is Communion Sunday. All ministerial staff and deacons please be in appropriate attire and all come to the receive of the Lord's table next Sunday. Greater Bessemer District has t-shirts for sale. Price of t-shirts is $25. For orders, please email greaterbessemerdistrict1@gmail.com with the amount of shirts and sizes that you need. The 120 seed fundraiser for the district is coming to a close for 2023. If you would like to donate a one-time seed, please do so by the end of February. This seed is used to pay reports for the entire district for the whole year. You can send via Givelify at Greater Bessemer District or CashApp at Cash Bessemer District. We thank you for your support. Thanks for watching VTC's announcements of the week.